Welcome to Choral Boot Camp, Session 2. I'm so glad you are back. Now, last week we worked on relaxation and vocal freedom and then introduced two pieces, Wayfarin Stranger and Skip to My Lou. Today, we're going to work on breathing and supporting that breath once it has been taken, and we will continue working on Wayfarin Stranger and Skip to My Lou, but we will also perform them with pre-recorded performances by the Michael O'Neill Singers, and I will conduct you in those, and it will be a wonderful experience as if you are in the middle of a scrambled choir arrangement. You'll hear all the parts around you. Hopefully you are using headphones or earphones or earbuds as we have suggested in the past. But let's jump right into breathing and support with a quick review of what we talked about with relaxation. I hope you've been doing the yawn sigh this week. Starting as high as you can with the feeling of a yawn, and then sort of glissandoing down, sighing down. That's the sigh of the yawn sigh. If you do that quite a bit, and then you can play around with it. Ya, ya. You can play around with it and go, ya. We did that last week. And we also talked about taking your hands and sort of pulling down a little bit on the side of your face when you're singing an ah sound, so it doesn't become like this, ah, but ah, ah, will be much fuller tone that way. So hopefully you have been working on all of that, but let's jump right into breathing now. Breathing seems like a fairly simple concept. We all do it, at least we hope we do. That keeps us going. And the thing about breathing for singing, however, is we need to be able to take a deep breath. And so many people breathe with what we call sort of shoulder breathing or chest breathing or clavicular breathing. And what that is basically just thinking about this area up here. And quite often when people breathe that way, their shoulders are going to come up. That's one reason it is sometimes called shoulder breathing. And it's very shallow. You can't take much in, but that's what so many people who have not been trained in correct breathing technique will do. And they think they're taking a full breath. But what is better is what is called diaphragmatic breathing. It is breathing from the diaphragm. The diaphragm is a dome-shaped muscle that goes across the body like this, from the front to the back, and it is below the lungs. So when the lungs fill with air, those are spongy tissues. When they fill with the air that we inhale, it moves the diaphragm down a little bit like this. It's sort of a dome-shaped muscle. Comes up like this, and it moves down. When it moves down, there is a bit of a movement in this part of the body, and that's why sometimes voice teachers will say they want to see this area move out, this belly area, or the stomach area, above the stomach really, but below the diaphragm and above the navel. So this area here. And if you have a hard time experiencing that, making that work, I'll tell you something you can do that it will work every time. And that is go lie down flat on your back on a couch or a bed preferably, and just breathe normally. Don't even think about it. Don't think I've got to breathe this way or that way. Just breathe. But watch this area. In fact, put your hands here, and as you inhale, you'll notice expansion there. Or in other words, your hands are going to move up a little bit because you are breathing correctly. Now, it's almost impossible to breathe incorrectly if you are lying flat on your back. So once you've accomplished that, stand up, lean over, and do the same thing. Just inhale, and I bet you'll still feel that expansion. Then stand up straight and inhale and try to experience that same thing. So that is diaphragmatic breathing. Now, let's say something about this. Once you have gotten a nice big breath, and we'll do some exercises in a moment that will help you get a good full breath. But once you have that breath, you need to support it. Otherwise, it's all going to go out very quickly. And that's what happens with a lot of singers. That's why I call this today what we are doing breathing and support, supporting the breath once you have taken it. So now let's do an exercise or two that will help us with both taking in the breath and supporting it once we have it. So take your fingers, interlace them like this, put them in this area. It's below the ribs, below where the lungs are. And so as we inhale, we should see our fingers move out a little bit as we take the breath. Some of us will notice it more than others if we have more of an area to move there, but that's getting personal, so let's just go on with the lesson now. As you inhale, feel the breath. Don't raise the shoulders at all. Start with them in a good high position, back straight, and take a nice deep breath. I felt all this expand. And let me show you something that will make it even easier for you to see it, and also when the support time comes, it's really going to help. Take a book of some size, of some weight. I'm using Deep River, The Life and Music of Robert Shaw, the most recent biography of Robert Shaw, the great choral orchestral conductor. It's by Keith C. Burns, and I recommend it if you're looking for a good biography of that great musician. Certainly was a mentor to me and to many choral conductors around the country. Take a book of some size, hold it like this, press it in the way I was telling you to press your fingers in, your hands, and it's very easy to see as you inhale, the book moves out. But what I want you to do then as you are singing, sort of press lightly with the book. Offer resistance, because what it's going to do is it's going to help you keep from expending your breath too quickly. That's what so often happens with untrained singers. Even if they learn how to take a deep breath, they use it all up in the first measure or so, or at least 50% of it is gone. So let's do this. Take a breath. We'll hiss on the way out. Go as long as you can. I'll do it again. We won't go as long as we could possibly do now. I'm just trying to set this up for you. Take a breath. Hiss through the teeth. And always resisting, pushing in with the book a little bit, pushing out with the diaphragm as you are doing that. Now, let's take a musical pattern. Let's just do on na. So we'll go na. Do it with me. I'll play with one hand. And na, na, inhale, na, inhale, na. Now I want us to expand it. We could go back on, we're starting on an E here. We could go 5 tones up and 5 tones down. Na, Take a nice breath. Na. Take a breath. Na. Take a breath. Na. Now we'll expand it a little bit and we'll go. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 5, 3, 1. Take a big breath. You might run out on this one. Big breath. Na. Big breath. Na. Big breath. Na. One more. Big breath. Na. Now, you can do this with any music that you're rehearsing, as we rehearse Wayfarin Stranger in just a moment. I would suggest that you take that book and use it as you are singing the phrases, and it will certainly help you conserve that breath. It's just an exercise. It's just doing it daily, over and over again, and getting accustomed to thinking about it. And you will find that you will be able to expand your breath, the use of your breath. Whatever it might have been, you'll find that you can do a bit more. Now, some of you might be impaired just because of some issues with your lungs. It can also be affected by age. There are a lot of things that can affect our breath control and our breath support. Mine is certainly not what it was when I was in the prime of my vocal health and doing a lot of solo work. But we can still make sure that it is better than it has been if we will just exercise. Well, now I think it's time to apply some of what we've just been working on to the music. So let's take a look at Wayfarin Stranger. We'll sing along with the balanced voices. Let me point out to you, of course, that I've got the breath marks in there for you. But it's very different taking a breath. Look at the first page for the tenors and the basses. You've got plenty of time before that first phrase. Coming in on I'm just a poor wayfaring stranger. You can start breathing at the beginning of that measure. So, I'm just a poor wayfarer. See how much time you've got to take that breath before you come in. But after that first phrase, stranger, it's a catch breath that you must take, which means you can't really take a full breath, fill up completely. But you still need to breathe from down here. That's where it is so easy in those catch breaths to breathe up here and breathe in a very shallow way. So try to fill from the bottom up. I'll show you. I'm just a poor wayfaring stranger, traveling through this world of woe. Now, if I breathed incorrectly there, it might have sounded like this and looked like this. I'm just a poor wayfaring stranger, traveling through this world of... I don't have enough breath to get through because I breathed much too shallow a breath up here. So try to remember, even when you're taking catch breaths, to breathe from the diaphragm. If you want to use the book, do that. If you want to use your hands to press in, do that. But think about your breaths and supporting the breaths as we sing with balanced voices. Then after that, we'll get ready to sing it ourselves, our own performance.
I'm just a poor wayfaring stranger, a-traveling through this world of woe. But there's no sickness, toil, or danger in that bright world to which I go. I'm going there to meet my mother. I'm going there no more to roam. I'm just a-going over Jordan. I'm just a-going over home. I know dark clouds will gather round me. I know my way is rough and steep, but beauteous fields lie just beyond me, where souls redeemed their vigil keep. I'm going there to meet my Father. He said he'd make me when I come. I'm only going over Jordan. I'm only going over home. I want to wear a crown of glory when I get home to that bright land. I want to shout salvation's glory in concert with that heavenly band. I'm going there to meet my Savior, to sing His praise forevermore. I'm just a-going over Jordan. I'm just a-going over
All right. Now, before we sing it together with the Michael O'Neill singers, let's just look at a few things here in the piece, because I will be doing it a little bit differently. For one thing, you're going to notice that I am taking it at a slower tempo. It's one thing that conductors will do. Conductors interpret, they'll take a look at the printed page, but they will sometimes change things to bring their own interpretation into the piece. It is marked slowly and smoothly, and I really felt that the half note at 63 is a little faster than I wanted to go. That's what Matthew Curtis was just doing, because he was following the directions of Gilbert Martin, the arranger of the piece. But our performance was more around 56 on the half note. So just be aware that we will be singing a little more slowly. The accompaniment is not going to be piano, it's going to be harp, and it works very well with harp, but that's what you'll be hearing. And we obviously will be observing all the breath marks. If you have places where you can't get the full phrase that I have marked, don't worry about that. That's a long phrase from the bottom of the page basses and tenors. But there's no sickness, toil, or danger in that bright world to which I go. That's a lot to do on one breath. And if you must steal a breath, go ahead and steal it, but just don't take it where we've got the carryover mark, because that's where we want everyone in the section to be carrying over between danger in that bright world. So steal a quick breath someplace else. Same thing for you sopranos and altos when you're singing. Now, the first time something is a little bit different from what Matthew Curtis has been doing is when we get to the top of page 6. On that fermata in the third measure, I hold it just a little bit longer, so watch for that, sopranos and altos, as you come in on the I'm only going. There's going to be just a little bit of a pause before I bring you in. Also in measure 39, the second line, I observe that fermata with just about an extra beat. Then I will dictate those 3 words, I'm only. You'll see me conduct, I'm only, go. Then I go back to half notes after that. Slight fermata there on home, the third measure of the second line. Then we go to the next page, and of course you've got this all the various entrances, which is just wonderful. I love the way that is written. The tenors and basses on one part, altos on the middle part, and sopranos. But everyone is singing the same thing, just coming in at different times. On the second line on page 7, we will definitely observe that fermata on band, heavenly band, break, and then I'm going to hold each of those. I'm going. That's the reason I wrote tenuto there, T-E-N. So watch for that. Then it goes on. At the bottom of the page, I'll dictate to sing his. Dictate means I'll be conducting those quarter notes instead of half notes there. Then I go back to the half notes on praise forevermore. A little bit of a fermata at the first measure, top of page 8. Then it's pretty much what is marked after that. Slow down certainly in the retard in measure 60 and hold that last note. If you run out of breath, you come back in a little more softly than you left. That's always the key in singing a phrase or singing a note at the end of a piece. If you run out of breath, sometimes it's best just to stay out. Don't come back in, but look as if you're still singing, so the audience will think that. But if you do come in softer than you left. Very important choral rule. So let's get ready now. Stand if you can. If you've not already been standing as you sing, this would be a great time to stand as we perform this together. Remember, it is going to feel as if you're in the middle of a scrambled choir, because you'll hear all the voices of soprano, alto, tenor, bass of the Michael O'Neill Singers. And let's sing together now this beautiful arrangement by Gilbert Martin of Wayfarin Stranger.
I know
Well, I hope you enjoyed singing Wayfarin Stranger together. And now it's time for us to look at Skip to My Lou. We'll work on it a little bit, and then we will perform it as well. This is a good test for correct breathing, for taking the breath, because it is so fast, and there are so many places where you have to take a catch breath, as we were talking about in Wayfarin Stranger, and the whole feeling of the piece is such that it's easy to fall back into shoulder breathing, clavicular breathing, shallow breathing, and we just don't want to do that. So I'm going to ask you to specifically be thinking about diaphragmatic breathing as we are singing this. We're going to do it first at the slower tempo that we rehearsed last week. Then we'll rehearse it with the appropriate tempo by Matthew Curtis, and then we will perform it after that. But let's sing it first at a slower tempo. You might want to use your book. In fact, I'll hold mine here. Part of the time I'll conduct, part of the time I'll hold the book. But let's see how it goes at 96 instead of 112 on the quarter note. Breathe.
Choose your partner, skip to my loo. Choose your partner, skip to my loo. Choose your partner, skip to my loo. Skip to my loo, my darling. Loo, skip to my loo. Loo, skip to my loo. Loo, skip to my loo. Skip to my loo, my darling. Can't get a red, red, a blue, but I'll do. Can't get a red, red, a blue, but I'll do. Can't get a red, red, a blue, but I'll do. Skip to my loo, my darling. Loo, loo, skip to my loo. Loo, loo, skip to my loo. Loo, loo, skip to my loo. Skip to my loo, my darling. Flies in the buttermilk, shoo, shoo, shoo. Flies in the buttermilk, shoo, shoo, shoo. Flies in the buttermilk, shoo, shoo, shoo. Skip to my loo, my darling. Loo, skip to my loo. Loo, loo, skip to my loo. Loo, loo, skip to my loo. Skip to my loo, my darling. Lost my partner, what'll I do? Lost my partner, what'll I do? Lost my partner, what'll I do? Skip to my loo, my darling. I'll get another one prettier than you. I'll get another one handsome and true. I'll get another one better than you. Skip to my loo, my darling. Loo, loo, skip to my loo. Loo, loo, skip to my loo. Loo, loo, skip to my loo, my darling. Skip a little faster, that won't do. Skip a little faster, that won't do. Skip a little faster, that won't do. Skip to my loo, my darling. Skip, skip to my loo. Skip, skip to my loo. Skip, skip to my loo. Skip to my, skip to my, skip to my loo. Skip to my loo, my darling.
Well, that was at 96. So let's see what you can do now at the tempo 112.
Choose your partner, skip to my loo. Choose your partner, skip to my loo. Choose your partner, skip to my loo. Skip to my loo, my darling. Loo, skip to my loo. Loo, skip to my loo. Loo, skip to my loo. Skip to my loo, my darling. Can't get a red, red, a blue, but I'll do. Can't get a red, red, a blue, but I'll do. Can't get a red, red, a blue, but I'll do. Skip to my loo, my darling. Loo, loo, skip to my loo. Loo, loo, skip to my loo. Loo, loo, skip to my loo. shoo shoo shoo. Flies in the buttermilk, shoo shoo shoo. Flies in the buttermilk, shoo shoo shoo. Skip to my Lou, my darling. Lou, skip to my Lou. Lou, skip to my Lou. Lou, skip to my Lou. Skip to my Lou, my darling. Lost my partner, what'll I do? Lost my partner, what'll I do? Lost my partner, what'll I do? Skip to my Lou, my darling. I'll get another one prettier than you. I'll get another one handsome and true. I'll get another one better than you. Skip to my Lou, my darling. Ooh, skip to my Lou. Skip to my Lou. Skip to my Lou. Skip to my Lou, my darling. Skip a little faster, that won't do. Skip a little faster, that won't do. Skip a little faster, that won't do. Skip to my Lou, my darling. Skip, skip to my Lou. Skip, skip to my Lou. Skip, skip to my Lou. Skip to my, skip to my, skip to my Lou. Skip to my Lou, my darling.
And now it's about time for us to perform it, but let's go and look at several things I want to show you. And we'll be doing it at about that tempo, maybe 2 or 3 beats slower, but not much, very close to the 112 that Matthew Curtis just did. So be watching. But I do a couple of things a little bit differently. So when we get over to page, I can't see what the page is there, but it's measure 57, where it's very slow, and it will be... And the way I'm playing it, showing you that I'm holding a little bit on the lost my partner, what'll I do? Lost my partner, what'll I do? Lost my... So on those quarter notes, on do, and do there at the bottom of the page, I should have put probably a little tenuto in the music. I didn't, but I do hold that, so just watch for those spots. And then everything else is pretty much the way it is marked. It's fast, it just keeps going. Gives you a wonderful chance to work on articulation, which we have not yet come to. We'll be doing this in a later session, but to be able to get all of those words out at the fast tempo, you've really got to be articulating well to get the consonants and the vowel sounds changing. So it is time now to perform with the Michael O'Neill Singers this arrangement by Edward Fissinger of Skip to My Lou. Get in good singing position and let's have some fun with this piece.
Choose your partner, skip to my Lou. Choose your partner, skip to my Lou. Choose your partner, skip to my Lou. Skip to my Lou, my darling. Lou, Lou, skip to my Lou. Lou, Lou, skip to my Lou. Lou, Lou, skip to my Lou. Skip to my Lou, my darling. Can't get a red bird, a blue bird, a do. Can't get a red bird, a blue bird, a do. Can't get a red bird, a blue bird, a do. Skip to my Lou, my darling. Lou, Lou, skip to my Lou. Lou, Lou, skip to my Lou. Lou, Lou, skip to my Lou. Skip to my Lou, my darling. Flies in the buttermilk, shoo, shoo, shoo. Flies in the buttermilk, shoo, shoo, shoo. Flies in the buttermilk, shoo, shoo, shoo. Skip to my Lou, my darling. Lou, Lou, skip to my Lou. Lou, Lou, skip to my Lou. Lou, Lou, skip to my Lou. Skip to my Lou, my darling.
Skip to my Lou, my darling. Just a fun song. Fun to sing, fun to listen to. I hope you enjoyed it. Well, this brings us to a close of this week's session. I hope that most of you will be remaining for our Zoom time. Cammie will tell you about our guest this evening, very special person who has been with MOS on a number of occasions, but I'll let her tell you all about him and what is going to transpire. Next week we start new music. We begin working on 2 spirituals, Ain't It That Good News, arranged by William Dawson, and My Soul's Been Anchored in the Lord, arranged by Moses Hogan. We'll also be starting on vocal articulation, staccato, legato, marcato, those 3 basic articulations that we use in our singing, how to use them appropriately, how to use them effectively. So all of that for session 3. But now, here's Cammie.
Good evening, campers. Thanks for joining us for session 2 of Online Choral Boot Camp. In a minute, we're going to have that special guest on Zoom, and that is baritone Brent Davis. Many of you know him from MOS in-person concerts, and many others of you might remember him from previous Zoom times we've had over this year of MOS Online. Now, remember, when you join our Zoom times, you don't have to turn on your camera and you don't have to turn on your microphone if you don't want to. And you don't have to stay the whole time. You're welcome to just come, listen along, and then jump off the meeting when you need to be on your way. But if you do want to stick around in this Zoom time, after Brent and Michael get done talking together, we'll open up the microphones, so to say, and allow singers to talk with other singers in Online Choral Boot Camp for some social time and some time to meet others from around the country and really around the world who are participating this summer. Thank you again very much for joining us, and I do hope to see you on Zoom in a minute.